Hello, people. Welcome back to another video by your good friend, Chad Marco. Make sure you guys check out my other social media. And so yeah, we got another response video. You guys know I put out the Should Adult Virgins Pay for Sex videos, and we got quite a lot of good comments and great perspectives on those videos. I apologize if my voice is a little off. I was actually sick over the weekend and I'm now recovering. So let's get to it. Okay, so Dan Linden says, it's quite long here, there are a lot of people who have evidently never had good sex who think just like doing it yourself, it's just like doing it yourself. On the contrary, and I know incels don't like to hear this, but sex is great. Yes, there is more room for disappointment, but if you can find a partner you connect with, there is simply no comparison with anything else you might experience in life. Not only that, but you can absolutely experience this with a sex worker. Don't think there can't be a connection just because a transaction is involved. Some of the most intimate, memorable sex I've had was with escorts who enjoyed the hell out of it. But you have to make sure you find someone very special and are able to share moments outside of the bedroom. This is the difference between a true escort and a hooker who is just there to get the job done. So stop thinking in black and white terms. Just because sex work is someone's profession does not mean they don't enjoy what they are doing or find fulfillment in it. I know a few who only charge for it because it's their passion in life and they need to make an income so they can pursue it full time. Seek out someone like that and then don't project your own insecurities onto the interaction. It's annoying listening to a virgin talk about this, not from experience of course, but from pure speculation based on an oversimplified view of things and a poll in some internet cesspool. And then Black Cell Neat says it's a case-by-case thing like anything else. Now, I hear what you're saying about how going into the world of sex workers, you can find a variety of different women who have a different mentality or approach to how they do what they do. But let's be honest, that's not going to be the average experience. Like I get it. You seem like somebody that dove into the world of fucking sex workers and prostitutes. Like you seem like somebody that's really into it. But the problem with that is that you have to seek that out. You got to sift and crawl and navigate through shit, bad experiences and trash to get that. That's not going to be the average experience for a guy. And then you got to look at this too, because again, at the end of the day, I don't care what nobody say. A woman is a woman. Hypergamy is always relevant. So we're talking about adult virgins who have throughout the majority or the entirety of their lives have failed with women. Women have not expressed interest in us. They haven't expressed a desire to be with us. They have not shown attraction to us. And so there is no way in hell you're just going to easily waltz into the world of sex workers as a guy that's generally seen as unattractive and then run into women who are going to actually like you and want to be with you beyond the transaction. I don't know, like, because you said it's annoying listening to virgins and call 4chan a cesspit. So, which is fair, right? Don't get me wrong. But you sound like somebody that might be more normal and well-adjusted, someone that women actually like. But the video pertains to adult virgins. And I think when you're talking about guys like us, guys who are already, generally speaking, not attractive to women, it is not going to be very likely that we're going to go into the world of, and this is the thing too, and this is very important. When you talk about paying for sex, you're not going for mid-regular bitches that I mean, and we can't even get that. Think about this. You're not paying for mid-regular sloppy bitches. You're going for the top of the line of what you can get. Your fetish, your fantasy, like you're a 7, 8, 9, 10 type of woman. And so again, you are not going to convince anybody that a 5'5" balding Indian dude with a little dick is going to have the type of experience that you're talking about. Now, maybe the girl will show enthusiasm, but that's her job. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm a 8, 9 blonde, big titty beautiful woman, and this virgin Indian guy that walked in, oh, I'm just in love with him. I love hanging out with him. Women are women at the end of the day, and hypergamy is always relevant. And most guys who tend to go the sex worker route, you're not going to be some normie that girls are going to take to or want to be, generally speaking, because we're still talking about unattractive men paying to have sex with women who are normally out of their league. Those girls are not going to like them. They're going to like the money. And so THC says, honestly, if you're incredibly down bad, I say go for it. It will at least give you the experience and make you realize that it's not that big of a deal. That said, use protection. And I think this was pretty much talked about a lot as far as like the post in the video. Again, you had some guys who said if it's that bad, if it's that bad, then, you know, go ahead and get some experience. But, you know, at least he let you guys know, hey, use some protection. But that's also the good and bad of it, right? It's good to be conscientious of protecting yourself. But then it's kind of unfortunate because, you know, most guys, they're going to want that raw. They're going to want that raw. And then Watchero of YouTube 9678 says, don't. Like, if you care so much about having sex, then make yourself sexable. Also, to be completely honest, sex is very, very, very overrated. It's good, but it's not like the greatest thing in the world. It's really good when you're in love with someone. That's different. That's not only just sex, but actual affection and intimacy. I would recommend, if you are a virgin, don't worry too much about it. Focus a little more on finding someone you genuinely love. The sex part will come naturally. And if it doesn't, the love you feel is going to transcend any other desire you have. And see, I always hear these mixed messages. That's what always gets me. You know, you hear people like this who say, oh, sex is overrated. And then the first guy was like, sex is well, he said that sex could be very amazing and whatnot. But when you hear stuff like this, like, oh, sex is overrated, you know, maybe it's true, but probably the truth is it has more to do with the specific circumstances, right? The parties involved. You could be someone that's just not very much into sex. Maybe you're not a very sexual person, or maybe the person you're having sex with doesn't excite you that much. But then you go on to say that, you know, if you're able to do it with someone that you love and you're intimate with, you know, it's going to transcend and all that. But generally, though, even though I would say this is kind of what I'm looking for, I don't look at it quite through those type of rose-tinted glasses. I just would rather have a relationship. It doesn't have to be, oh, I love her beyond the stars and the moon, right? And the sun and all that shit. You know, just someone that I can say that I like and I respect them and they feel the same way about me. Then Grandfather Nurgle says, call it cynical, but what portion of young women are worth becoming attached to emotionally? The numerous things that a man has to do to rise to that desirable level is not a fast process by any means. If you miss the milestones by early adulthood, 20 to 21, it's only exponentially harder to improve a point of desirability. If you manage to do it, what makes any attention you get from females genuine? You weren't any different from the man you once were, but have more muscles, wealth, and status. If I were to have the material things women desire, I could never bother to become emotionally attached because I would know it's the appearance that did the heavy lifting, not anything about who I am as a person. Maybe if you are still in the 18-21 range, wait and save yourself the money. But beyond that, you're better off paying. I know personally that's my only option, but I currently enjoy spending money on necessities, hobbies before going to a brothel. And I do think that's a big cynical, though I think that we live in a time where those type of women that don't inspire you to be fully invested into them, the way that you say, those type of women are just more common than ever or at least as far as like what we know. Maybe there was some period in the right 500 years ago where that was just as bad, if not worse somewhere. But we do seem to be living in the era and the age of promiscuity and hold'em and hoflation. And so I get why guys like yourself feel that way. Because I think even myself, when I say I would rather have a relationship, that I want to have sex within a relationship and all that, I do feel like inevitably I'm going to be somewhat detached, you know, especially like you said, if you get the girl after or because of like your monetary gain or your finances or something like that, I'm going to definitely feel that way. But so I get where you're coming from. But I guess for me, when you know not to fully invest, like when you kind of like with myself, I don't look at it like, oh, this is my forever and after, and we're going to get married and all that shit. Like if I can just find, oh, I like her, she's a good person, she feels the same way about me, then I can roll with that. But I feel like, again, in the back of my mind is always going to be that understanding that it's not a good idea to be like 100% invested to the point of thinking I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person. But I would like to be with somebody that I can say I like and respect. And so Laumaldo 2896 says, bros, low key, I slept with escorts before. It's cool and all, but my game ain't that bad. So I've done it. So, but my game ain't that bad. So I've done it. Sex great, but what men really want is a connection with a woman they like. True, but it's hard to get to that point if you don't have the game to pull them. I'm not gonna say that I regret it, but it's not something I'm proud of. But yeah, bro, is right. If you want to get good with women, just work on yourself or work on your game. Like he said, consistency is key in all things in life. Yeah, if you want to take that route, if you want to take the self-improvement route to get women and to avoid having to pay for it, that's always an option. I always tell you guys, don't pity me, because my biggest issue has always been that I never wanted it bad enough to do all that work. You know, I put in so much work for my body, my music and shit like that. I haven't put my whole life, I haven't put like fucking 3 hours into trying to get girls. So, but it seems like this guy, he kind of maybe experience both worlds. It seems he says that his game ain't that good, but it seems like he's trying to say that he's kind of, so he's done both, but he's not really necessarily proud of having slept with escorts. And so again, this kind of goes back to your mentality, because some guys are really just not cut out for it. Some guys are, it's kind of like internet piracy, you know, downloading video games and music for free. Some people can do it and don't give a fuck. Some people, like, they're gonna feel guilty about it. It's that kind of thing, bro. You gotta figure out like what type of guy you are. Like if you really embrace you know, going to see prostitutes or escorts and it doesn't have any sort of effect on you in terms of like your morals and whatnot. And so Mike Jensen, W2V, says, there are too many true cells thinking they'll lose their virginity through true love, especially on incels.is. If you are in the chat, that's not going to happen. There is no true love for sub fives. Now, I disagree with the last part. You can find fat motherfuckers with fat motherfuckers. If you want to talk sub fives, you can find those couples. I see them in Walmart, you know, where both of them, they big as hell and in their 30s and 40s. The guy is balding and the woman, she got a big fat forehead and cankles and all that, and they walking around in Crocs and tanks. Now, I don't know if that's true love, but they together. But I wouldn't say, you know, or try to discourage guys from trying just because they aren't necessarily attractive, you know. Like the guy said before, you can get a lot out of self-improvement. You know, start with looks maxing. If you're overweight, lose weight, go to the gym. Of course, do this for yourself first and foremost. Do as much as you can for yourself and then work from there. But, you know, just try to get fit, try to look match as much as you can. Again, I'm just not as pessimistic about it, about what somebody is or isn't going to be able to achieve in terms of like romance and love and things like that. But I do think that there is a certain truth to how some people do think that they're gonna have that and they're not. It's not for everybody. Ain't gonna win. I'm not that. Look, I'm a positive, optimistic guy, but I'm not ridiculous. Everybody ain't gonna win. So it's true. Some people that are holding out hope, you know, that hope might be a bit misplaced. I know with myself, I would hope that I could have that one day. That would be cool, but I've never betted on it. You know, I've already resigned myself to the strong possibility that I could die single, that I could die a virgin, and I've made peace with that. You know, and I think that part of it is important as far as like just being realistic. If you're not gonna pay for it and you're not gonna settle for gorilla orc hoes, then it might not happen. And especially in my case where I've gone the extra mile and said I'm not even gonna go out of my way to try to get it. Yeah, I definitely had to accept that, you know, I could die like this. King of Nothing 447 says at 1224, y'all, he would have had a point if women did not put so much BS on a lot of men, even penalize some men for what others do to them, or at like current day entry level jobs. So yeah, more and more men are gonna need a game shark genie. I think he was talking about the guy who said that using a prostitute was like cheating. And then Afro Soul Edit says Western society is against men, especially women, so dealing with any type, especially as a virgin, is damaging and dehumanizing as a male virgin when people want you to ruin yourself for their benefits. And then Grandfather Nurgle says his point on it is like using cheats is not considering the game men have to play right now is unbalanced and hasn't had any patches to address the problem. So I say use the cheats if you must. If you missed out on the pre-order DLC or high school, college experiences. Yeah, I think we all know that right now in the modern age, dating is probably harder than ever. And even if you play the game and you can get some numbers going and shit like that, is also the issue of like the quality of them. But I think it also goes back to what you're looking for. And I think a lot of guys like hearing this conversation in that thread on 4chan, like a lot of guys, we really just want a normal type of girlfriend experience. We want to have a girlfriend that's not fat, that's not crazy. Like, I don't think we're really asking for anything that's outrageous, but I just think that, you know, even getting that can be so difficult, you know. And then even if you can get the girl, it's like it's after she's already been with so many guys and accumulated different traumas, and then she has these expectations of you and things like that. And we see stuff like that on social media all the time. Sometimes it's skits, but a lot of times it's real shit that people are going through. Like I remember I saw this one video where the guy, he was dropping the girl back off and she was recording him because he was trying to take her on a coffee date at Starbucks, and she was complaining about that. Like, how you gonna take me on a Starbucks date? How you gonna take me on a coffee date? You know, because a lot of girls, they have the expectation that they want you to really drop, you know, maybe like a few $100s on a date for them and shit like that. Like, these are the things that guys have to deal with. You know, you start dating, you finally get a number, you get this girl, and then she's putting these expectations on you, and you're not even in yet. You don't even know who she is and how she's gonna operate within a relationship. But it's a lot of shit. It's definitely a lot of shit, and I think that's why I'm not one for the complaining, at least not from my side of things. I always just say, you know, if you don't like the way the game is being played, or the way the game has to be played nowadays, and you don't think it's fair, then take yourself out of it. That's what I did. And then Mega Terra Nova says, not worth it and overrated. She trick you and you trick yourself. And then Mike Jensen says, yep, and too many incels are holding out for that special someone. It's ridiculous how delusional these guys are. They're definitely not NT or something, believing they're going to get some life trad wife. They are coping so hard. Afro Soul Edit says, it's not delusional if you got a passport and can get an actual traditional woman. He's talking about passport broing. And then LYU5 says they only want your money and a green card to the West, but perhaps to Monkey Branch. So best to stay in the East, albeit I think she means, or he, I don't know. I think he means the West though, because the East, that's when you're going out to like those Asian countries. Maybe he meant the West. Yeah, he's saying that it's not worth it, it's overrated, you know, you're just gonna be a trick and whatnot. But again, like the whole thread or the whole, you know, video, I wasn't trying to tell nobody what to do. You know, I just wanted to get like, you know, different perspectives on what people thought about it. I already know what I would do. You guys already know that. So I'm not trying to tell nobody to do it or to not to do it. I think most of it just has to do with, you know, who you are and how you feel about it personally. But again, Afro, he said, you know, you can go get you a passport and then go get you a trad woman. But and I've talked about this before. You gotta be careful with that road because you do hear those stories of, you know, bringing women, how guys find women through passport broing, and then they bring them back home to the West, and then things don't work out. You know, and I think a lot of it, as far as like finding trad women or so-called trad women overseas, is that's I feel like women do what they must in the environment that they're in. I feel like if you took those women who live in those very like oppressive Middle Eastern Muslim countries, you know, where the women have to wear the hijabs and, you know, can't show their ankles or their hair, can't read, or this, whatever rules and restrictions they put on them. You could take a couple thousand of those women like in their prime and bring them over here to America. And I guarantee you, most of them gonna flip. They gonna flip. I promise you, most of them gonna flip because a lot of times women only are trad out of necessity, and so you bring them over here, it's kind of dangerous. You know, I'm not saying it's gonna happen every time, but it's just something that you hear about. And you know, I just think a lot of you bring them over here, it's gonna be a risk, but that's a route. You know, that's the option. And then Midnight Blue 13 says, it's never free anyway, except maybe sometimes for a few giga chads. Wining and dining takes money. Maybe once in the blue moon, a free one happens to average guys. But in a long-term relationship, she expects you to pay and pay and pay. Really, the pro girl route is sometimes actually cheaper. It depends. It just depends on the type of girl you with. But I've always seen that argument that all men pay. Just like I said in the video, Coach Greg Adams, he always says that all men pay. And it's a lot of truth to that. You can get some freebies. There is a such thing as free pussy. You can get them freebies. But again, we got to adjust how we're talking about this to the type of guys we're talking about. We're not talking about chads and whatnot. Should adult virgins pay for sex, right? So if you choose not to pay for sex, what type of relationship, if you do get a relationship, if you do get with a woman, what type of woman are you going to get? You're probably going to get with someone who's going to have those types of normal female expectations of being provided for. And for some guys, that's not even an issue. I don't even think being a provider is always necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on how much you have and whether or not you can figure out and establish if you guys have a real connection, or is it a relationship based solely on the provision of resources. But the whole provider thing, I feel like we talk about it so much from the angle of like alpha fucks, beta bucks, that it made guys feel bad about it. Like it made us feel bad about if we got to pay for anything, pay for a date or pay her rent and all that shit. And I think that just stems from the fear of being with somebody that isn't really fully invested in you, somebody that is only going to be with you because of what you're providing. And the second that dries up, or the second they find a better option, that they're going to go and just skip along. But, you know, when it comes to if you're going to, whether you're talking about paying or providing for a woman or paying for sex, it just depends on what your mindset is in regards to that. And so LYU5 says, absolutely yes, I will tell you exactly why you should. A lot of men are beyond desperate, especially if they never had sex with another person. And I think that form of sex is the end all be all. They start to feel depressed, lost, etc. When you finally decide to do the loving act, you will A, ideally lose a lot of depressing thoughts surrounding that topic, and B, de-stress a good amount. People will realize that the feeling of sex is not different from doing it yourself, especially if you do it with a fleshlight, which even feels better, much better than sex. It's true, as crazy as that sounds. Sex with another person is disappointing when they don't like you in the first place. But for the reason I said, virgins absolutely should do that and lose a lot of that baggage or depression and desperation they carry around. And if you seem to actually like hookers, then more power to you as well. Although that point is probably unlikely. But if you do, that can be great as well. For the singular reason to get the first time out of you is worth everything. Now I remember in in the actual video where we were going over the different posts, you saw a mix, right? Because what this person is saying is that, you know, going to a prostitute can help unload unload some of that virginal baggage, right? But you kind of got a mixed bag as far as how people just actually described that in practice. There were some guys that co-signed it where it was good for them and they didn't regret the experience. They enjoyed it and whatnot. But then you also had those guys that regretted it. And that's why I always emphasize that you got to know who you are when it comes to whether or not you choose to go down this road, because it's not for everybody. I don't like, I would never say it's just what every virgin should do, because even just based on the testimonies in that thread, you saw that it was more mixed. It does work for some guys. It works for some guys to, you know, it opens up a lane for them to enjoy sex and sexuality in a more, you know, real way outside of the world of pornography and masturbating and things like that, you know, and they can have more varied and interesting experiences. Now you have touch and smell and sight and all these things up close. It's right in your face. You're doing it for real. But for some guys, it does seem to kind of leave them with a more empty feeling. You know, maybe that's because they had a bad experience. Maybe it was who they ended up going to. Maybe they didn't really go as hard at it as some other guys would. But again, I wouldn't prescribe it for everybody. And then Dodge Pit says there is profusion of people out there who are sexually active and still depressed. It's not going to heal whatever ails you have indefinitely. It's merely a momentary lapse of joy. Now again, it depends. For some guys, they have said that it was a significant shift for them. But again, it just comes down to who you are. And then Buddy Boy says, so what am I supposed to do? Die with a PP in my hand? I think not. And then Hove Magnet says, fucking is not even that great. Neither does it feel that good, but I guess see for yourself. And then Buddy Boy says, please go to the doctor to be prescribed testosterone therapy because it sounds like an emergency. And then he says, Femboy profile pic checks out. But I don't know, some guys, you've heard it in here already. Some people are saying that sex is overrated and all that. It ain't that great. I've always heard a mix, so I can't say with certainty. But this is just something that I've heard. Some people say sex, it'll shatter the earth beneath your body and send you into overload, into the next dimension of love and pleasure and ecstasy. And then some people say that it's overrated. Me, I don't know. I would hope it's at least fun. Damn. And then Buddy Boy also says, you are paying for sex with someone who doesn't want to have sex with you. Well, that was one of the reasons I gave why I wouldn't pay for sex. And then he compares it. He says, you pay for food cooked by someone who doesn't want to cook for you. You pay for tooth cavity treatment by someone who doesn't want to look in your mouth at your cavities. You pay for surgery by someone who doesn't want to see your insides. Why is Poontang any different? Now, I think we're going back to who you are and how you view things personally. And I think for me, what makes sex different is that I view sex as something that I would ideally or want to do with someone where it's a mutually enjoyable experience. I don't look at it as just something to where I would be okay with receiving it as form of a service. Like I'll put it like, just to put it in a different context, right? If I was going to play video games with somebody, like if I was going to play Street Fighter 6 with somebody, I wouldn't want to play with somebody who doesn't want to play. Like if you don't like fighting games, you hate fighting games and you dread playing them, but it's like, well, I'll play with you if you give me $20. I would never do that. I'd rather just play by myself. I'll play by myself or go play online or whatever the case may be. And that's just how I look at, like, when I look at sex, paying for it, knowing that the other person doesn't want to do it, would be just as ridiculous as paying for somebody to pretend to be my friend. Now, like I said, I think this is a mindset thing where it depends on if you can separate or look at sex as a service to be provided and if you're interested in it versus whether or not you can. And I can't, I have no interest in sex if the mutually enjoyed aspect of it simply is not there. Now, when it comes to food or going to the dentist and all that, it's not important because they're there just to make money. Like, I'm receiving a service of, hey, fix my teeth or make my food, this and that. But if I'm talking about something where I want to do it with somebody, like something for fun, I look at sex as something to have fun with. The same way going out on a trip, if you don't want to go on a road trip with me, I'm not going to pay you to go with me. If you don't want to go watch this movie, I'm not going to pay you to go watch it. So that's why I look at it differently, because I don't look at sex, or I'm not interested in sex as a provided service. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it with somebody that actually wants to do it and wants to enjoy it and have fun with me based on how they feel about me. Just like if I was hanging out or kicking it with somebody, having fun, doing any other activity. I look at it as a fun activity to be mutually enjoyed by all participants, not a service to be provided. And then Midnight Blue says, I agree with this point. And also some of them like it. Just because they expect you to be the one paying doesn't mean they don't have fun on the job. Of course, some of them are in it just for the money, but others are in it at least partly for the thrills and love of sex. Sometimes if you're a regular, you make a sort of bond with them and you sometimes get the occasional freebies and discounts. A common mistake I see in the thinking of members of these types of communities is a tendency towards absolutist thinking. Just because she doesn't like you enough to be your girlfriend or whatever and wants you to pay doesn't mean she doesn't enjoy time with you. To some extent, it's on the spectrum. And again, I agree somewhat that it's on the spectrum, but we have to be realistic. What are the chances? What are the chances of you, Mr. I never had a girlfriend, I've never had sex, women have never shown me any interest, and let's say you're a 5, right? You're a 4 or a 5, and I'm paying a 7, 8, a 9, a girl that would never give me a chance, would never look at me twice. Her boyfriends have been the chattest of chats. She got rappers in her DMs, athletes in her DMs, but she's gonna enjoy sex with me. She's looking forward to sex. Like, we gotta be real about that shit. Like, I get that everything is a spectrum, and there's always some wiggle room for magical things to happen. But when you're talking about the demographic that we're talking about, adult male virgins that girls have never shown interest in, not even average looking girls, not even 5s and 6s. And then these guys go and pay 8, 9s and 10s, big booty Judy, bad bitches, big titty guys. You're paying them for sex, but they're gonna like you. But they're gonna like you. It's not gonna be it's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it's not the likelihood. And it's not something I would bet my money on. The fact that you consider sex as bleak as any other act is kind of fucked up. Sex is way more intimate than any other thing. And then JRB7 says, highly doubt that majority of chefs don't enjoy cooking, and dentist treatments and surgeries are something neither enjoys. It's just, oh yeah, fuck that. Damn, I don't mind I actually like going to the dentist, but yeah, fuck it. I didn't even think about that. Obviously, human relations become alienated concepts when they are transformed into services because the emotional aspect are removed. But like I said, it just comes down to how you look at it. I think when you talk about sex, it's just one of those things where some people, they can look at it like that. Some people can just say it's a service to give out. It is a service to provide or a service to be received. And if you have that mindset and you can look at it like that, then you're not going to have the same hangups that I do. I'm not saying this like you're wrong for feeling the way that you do. I'm just saying that's not how I feel about it. I look at sex the same way I look at any other thing I would want to do with a friend. If I'm going to do it, I want them to enjoy it as well. I don't want you to be, and especially the pace, like that's when it really gets stupid. It's one thing to do something reluctantly, but then to demand to get paid to do something that you don't want to do when I'm just trying to have fun with you. I can't wrap my head around that. I can't do that. That's ridiculous to me. But again, it's just that I can't look at sex as a service as something that I would want. And then Mac L8305 says, "Don't pay, bro. I remember the first time I got some from a girl around the way, I got a self-esteem boost knowing that this girl was into me that I couldn't imagine ever getting if I had just paid for it." And then Not Your Typical Farrah 7194. That sounds familiar. Not everyone cares about validation. Paying is awesome. You get what you want and no strings attached, which is also true. But I get where Mac is coming from though. Because I just think it's more so just a very basic human thing where you can say you don't care about validation, this and that, but in general, you know, having positive interactions with people feels good. When people respect you, when people admire you, when people compliment you, especially like myself as an artist, you know, when I put out a song or I put something out and people enjoy it and they feel good about it, you know, I feel good because they feel good. You know, you want people to like you, or rather, even if you don't seek it, it's something that you enjoy. And when people like you and shit like that, people tend to enjoy that. And I think that's what you get from those interactions, like he said, is that you get that good feeling of she fucks with me, like she liked me. Like I always think back to the cashier girl, because that's the only moment I really had in my life where a girl obviously liked me. And like I said, she was like a 5. She was like a 5.5 at best. Really won't even my type like that. But I still think about that memory fondly because I'll never forget how good it felt. It felt so good for a girl to know that a girl liked me and was into me and was attracted to me and liked what she saw. And that felt good. And I think that's not what you're going to get from a sex worker. But again, taking the spectrum into account, like it's a possibility. Okay, I got you. But generally speaking, you're paying for a reason. And she wouldn't fuck with you otherwise. And then Matt goes on to say, "I'm talking about have social skills to get what I want. If he wants to pay after the first one, be my guest. But having social skills is an important life skill. Nothing to do with seeking validation." Again, I know people try to escape that, the whole as seeking, but just be honest about it. If validation feels good, 'cause I think we've turned it into something that's so negative. We've turned it into something where it's like now people try to like run away from it. But I feel like at the same time, we're kind of just in denial about what we are and what we enjoy when we do that. Validation feels good. That don't mean you gotta be an ass kisser and you gotta be fake and all that shit. You can be yourself. Like, you guys know me. Like, I love being myself. But I still enjoy the validation of when people fuck with me for who I am, even more because I am being myself. But shit, like, you don't have to run away from that, right? Enjoy the it feels good. Enjoy that. And he says, "I'm talking about self-esteem from knowing you have social skills to get what you want. If you want to pay after, then whatever. But I just personally think that it's better to develop your people skills first, a life skill." And I think we kind of talked about that in the video where I think we were discussing how if guys take that route, it's not going to fix the issues that led to them being a virgin. It's not going to fix those. Like, if you have, now it can help somewhat. I think some guys said that it did help, but then we had a mixed bag there of perspectives. But, you know, some guys were also like, you know, it's a shortcut way to get sex. And it doesn't address the different issues. Like, if you have approach anxiety, it's not very likely that going to see prostitutes is going to kill that. Because approaching with the possibility of getting rejected is way different than paying and knowing that you're going to get, knowing that you're going to get what you want 9 times out of 10. So it's something like that. That's part of the problem with going to see prostitutes, is that if you have some deeper issue as far as like lack of confidence, fear of rejection, things like that, or maybe the things that are making you less attractive to women. You don't know how to dress, you're overweight, you haven't really sharpened yourself as a man, you ain't sharpened your claws yet. All these things can add to the pot as far as keeping you a virgin. And if you take the shortcut to paying for it, that's not going to address those issues. And that's part, yeah, so I see where he's coming from. And then Yamakel Gambino says, develop them for who? And then Max says, for yourself. And then Nurgle, he was all in this thread. Yeah, but it's about recognizing your situation. Some people like myself, this is the only realistic way to go about it, which is also true. I mean, I don't know what his situation is, but for some people, yeah, damn. And then Pon Woo Woo 6602 says, why not? I'll never understood the incelism when the only thing standing between you and getting laid is a few dollars. This makes all of incels vocels because they choose not to do it. Well, I've always said I'm a vocel, so don't put that on me. And then the half 123 says standards, and that's part of it. And Nihilistic Puppy says, what a pathetic take this is. Real men and women who respect themselves prefer to wait for a genuine love rather than to quickly get laid and feel better about their social status like a child. That makes me feel good. But, I'm not going to do the whole real man, real woman thing, because I think, again, I've seen guys who are very much into the sex worker thing, and they're not always like these mentally maladjusted individuals. They're not always like these creepy weirdo type guys. Sometimes they're very well adjusted. Sometimes they got a good head on their shoulders. And even sometimes, they know how to get women the regular way, right? The free way. And so I'm not going to play that, the real woman and all that. But I do think it's a certain type of person that has that preference. We live in a different time now. And so everybody ain't looking for that. Everybody not looking for genuine love. Everybody ain't looking for that happily ever after and all that. Even myself, I would say I'm just more so just not looking for, but if I was going to do it, it would be in a relationship with a girlfriend that I liked and respect, that whole, right, that whole bag there. But then Pan Woo Woo says, this is a sober, pragmatic, and logical take, kiddo. If you think that's pathetic, it's a you problem. Let's face it, 99% of you aren't getting laid ever. This is the best chance you got. This is the only chance you got. I like how you said it though. This is a sober, pragmatic, and logical take, kiddo. He had to throw in the Jordan Peterson kiddo though. But I see what he's saying though. I see what he's saying. For some guys, yeah, it's not gonna happen for you. But that's the trick of it. Are you that guy or not? And I'm not one to ever say whether someone is or not, because you never know. You've seen some of the worst of men have relationships and things like that. And even a handsome motherfucker like myself gets no play. Right? And then Sean Mendencino says, prostitution is illegal and dangerous. Seriously expect the highly neurotic online types to even know how to find a brothel seriously. I guess it depends, because it is legal in certain areas. But yeah, I think in America, that's going to be a bit of a obstacle for like autistic weirdo guys who aren't really socially lubricated the way that they should be, as far as like finding the right avenues, because you're more likely to run into a police sting, or especially just an escort who is not of a higher quality. You've seen the guys in the earlier comments who talked about how, there are sex workers who are very passionate about what they do and they can really rock your fucking socks off, right? And I believe that. But is a guy, an adult virgin, is just hopping off the porch at 35, is he going to be able to navigate those treacherous waters of sex work and prostitution and pimps and hoes and get that? I'm not going to bet on it for sure. And then Panwu says legality depends on the country. Also, it's not that hard to find a working girl. It's a matter of a quick Google search. Even these guys should easily manage. I don't know, man. Do you know these guys? And then Deadbeat says everyone pays for cheeks, bruh. Most even pay, still don't get any. Dates that lead nowhere and sexless marriage are at an all-time high. So he's going the route everybody pays, so don't worry about it. That's what, Coach Greg Adams, he always says that. He always says everybody pays, everyone pays. But I think that the problem is going to be that even if you can make that argument, then guys are going to say, well, I'm not paying for, or I'm not getting what I'll be paying for, right? So if you're talking about what you would have to pay within a relationship or as far as dating, I think that comes with the hope of, oh, well, at least I'll have a girlfriend, or at least I'll have a wife. At least, I'll have that type of experience versus paying for just the act itself. And how much you pay, it depends on the girl, depends on what your standards are. Because definitely, if you make a habit out of going to see like more expensive escorts, it can cost you more than what a girlfriend can. But it varies. I can't say one costs more than the other because honestly, it varies based on the person, their taste, their standards, and shit like that. But I think that's the problem, though, right? Even if you make the argument that everybody pays, then it's going to be, well, I'm not getting what I want. If I'm going to pay for it, then I want to at least have I want a whole girlfriend. I don't want somebody I got to pay to have sex with every now and then. And then 126, the man, is the last comment, says, I say no, sex is pretty overrated. Damn, y'all got to stop saying that. It's making me lose hope. I'll respond at a greater length later. Put simply, I don't think lonely men are wanting sex as much as a relationship or several that involves sex. But yeah, basically, yeah, that's it. I think that's what it comes down to. When you talk to guys like myself and you talk to guys who are adult virgins or close to it, I don't know what that means, but we talk to these guys, that's the main thing. I think really more than anything, guys want a relationship. Guys want to have a girlfriend where they can get steady, mostly unprotected sex without the risk of authorities, pimps, STDs, things like that. Even though, you got plenty of problems even within a relationship, let's be honest about that. But I think that's just what it comes down to. That's what guys want. Guys want relationships more than anything else, especially from this community. From the guys who tend to be attracted to my channel, guys who tend to have these problems on 4chan. When you get right down to it, and maybe I'll ask you, I think that's a good topic, because just to get like more of a accurate consensus, but I'm willing to bet on it. If you go to 4chan and you ask these guys who are having trouble with women and whatnot, like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a girlfriend, or would you rather have like a more, I guess the type like hookup lifestyle where you're hooking up, paying for sex, and always on the move with women? Like, would you rather have that or a steady girlfriend? I would bet most guys would say that they want a girlfriend. And I think for myself, especially, like, that's all I would need, right? That's what I would be more than satisfied with. Well, when I say need, again, I got to always clarify, I don't give a fuck like that. But if I was going to do it, then that's the way I would want to do it, with a girlfriend. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I will see you on the next. Thank you for all your comments, and Johnny.